We're going to be talking about 5 steps for manifesting what it is that you want. So we're going to let a couple people get aboard and then we're going to start talking about it. I've covered these 5 steps in various steps. You know, some of these incorporate like the teachings of Neville Goddard, some of these things that I've discovered myself. But there's things that, the funny thing is about manifesting, like I stated the other day, we're all expert manifestors. So we're all manifesting. And the 5 steps that I'm going to talk about, many of us are doing these steps haphazardly. We don't even realize that we're doing them. I look back on some events in my own life and didn't realize that the tools that I was using were actually tools that helped me manifest that I didn't have a name for when I was doing them early on. You know, so we're doing this stuff anyway, as I often will tell people. But it's us getting into the place where we're doing them from haphazardness to actually purposefully. So we want to make the shift from being haphazard to being on purpose in our manifestation, being conscious of what it is that we're manifesting. So like I said, I want to give a few people a chance to get on board, and then we're going to start talking into the steps. Now I may end up finding myself repeating the steps. This probably won't be a long lesson. It generally doesn't take a lot of time to talk about these things, but I want to make sure that I'm giving you the tools that, you know, once you leave here, you'll understand how manifestation takes place. So what we're going to do is make sure that you have the 5 basic steps of getting into a state where you're manifesting more of what it is that you desire. And like I said, we're doing this on a daily basis. It's like literally creating a shopping list. For example, you're going to the store, you're going shopping, you create a list, you start checking off things on that list. We're manifesting beings. We can't help but manifest. But a lot of times we make this thing super otherworldly, whatever. We make it kind of, you know, more difficult than it is. But you can't not manifest. The question is, what are you manifesting? So what we want to do is be more purposeful in our manifestation. So what I'm going to do, since we got a few people aboard, I'm going to get started with manifesting. And like I said, we're doing this all the time. Matter of fact, people who do advertising, for example, they know that we do this. So sometimes we're in the midst of watching a great movie, for example, and all of a sudden a commercial break comes on for those who are watching like TV, or if you're going to like a theater or whatever. Why? Because at that time you're more receptive of the suggestion that they're going to suggest with you. And sometimes we think that simply turning down the volume will be enough for us to tune out whatever the auto suggestion is. But a lot of times they're also doing it visual suggestion. So they're sending you things by way of your psyche, your sight, and so forth. So this is happening all the time. What I want to do, like I said, is help you to be more conscious of what it is that you're manifesting, and that you're doing it more purposeful. Because like I said, you're doing this throughout the day. And a lot of times the stuff that we're manifesting, we're like, that's not what I want to show up. So let's go on and discuss how you can become more conscious creators in your everydayness. And like I said, this stuff is not going to be like super guru-y, super spiritual or anything like that. It's going to be practical stuff that you do anyway. I just want to help you do it more efficiently, more effectively. So first and foremost, when you're looking at visualizing, you get into a relaxed state. A lot of times people think that, you know, they want $1 million, so they start saying, I want $1 million, I want $1 million, I want $1 million. There was this psychologist many years ago, and he had this thing, every day in every way, I'm becoming better and better. His name was Emile Coué. And he brought every day in every way to America. And of course, you know, they weren't as receptive as people were in his hometown in France. And people in France at that time were really getting great results. But when he brought it to America, those who were skeptics, they started, you know, trying to take apart what it was that he was doing. So it wasn't until years later that, you know, Americans also started getting the results. Every day and everywhere, I'm becoming better and better. Now, that's not what we're going to be touching on. I want to say a quote that he made. He said that when there's conflict between what you're imagining and what you're willing to happen, trying to willpower, I'm just going to make this happen, I'm going to pull myself up by my bootstraps. He says if there is a conflict between imagination and willpower, 100% of the time, imagination is going to win out. Now, why is this relevant? You don't make changes. We know, first of the year, we all make these New Year resolutions, for example. And maybe a month into it, we've dropped the resolution because we're trying to do it by way of willpower. We're going to make ourselves healthy. But for the person that uses his or her imagination, and they start visualizing, seeing themselves being the person that they want to be, do, or have, and they start doing that on a consistent, persistent basis, they have much better results. We are what we believe ourselves to be, and that happens because this is who we're imagining ourselves to be. Sounds like that makes sense, and it sounds like it's common sense, but it really isn't. I can say that we are who we imagine ourselves to be, but I can also say this. If we imagine ourselves to be somebody different, we can change the dynamics of who we are. We're energy systems. Being energy systems, our identity, as much as we may think that it is, isn't fixed. So when we start imagining ourselves, make believe, pretending, acting as if, playing the role, and we do that on a consistent, persistent basis, life is going to start to acquiesce. It's going to start taking shape, start forming itself after our predominant thoughts. And the funny thing is, when you start imagining, you don't even have to believe it at first. Your job is to see it, see the end in mind. But like I said, we're going to get ready to get into that. So first thing you're going to do when you want to manifest, we're going to cover 5 things. So first thing you're going to do when you want to manifest your ideal life is you're going to get into what Neville Goddard called get into a state akin to sleep. In other words, you're going to get into a relaxed state. I'm a certified hypnotherapist, and what I would do is just tell you to get into a relaxed state. Just kind of relax your body, relax your mind, relax your eyes, and you just get into. So I find this for me is like I wake up like 3 or 4 in the morning, and this is when I do most of my work. When things are quiet and I'm in this relaxed state, when I start visualizing, and also when things start coming to me. So when I start seeing the visions and the dreams and so forth, these ideals and these insights that I get, it normally comes at the early morning hours. So first and foremost, in order to begin to imagine and to create and manifest your ideal life, first and foremost, you get into a relaxed state. Again, the statement is you can't do it by willpower. When there's a conflict between imagination and willpower, 100% of the time it's said that imagination is going to win out. So what we want to do is get you into a relaxed state. The way that you speak to your subconscious mind is by images, by pictures, by mental movies and so forth. We're doing this all the time. We say, well, things are not going to work out for me today. I just feel like it's going to be a bad day. It could be quickly, or it could be, you could actually see the picture, but you're imagining. People say, well, I can't visualize. I can't. No, we all do it. For example, if I tell you to don't think about a red car, right now you're thinking about a red car. That's because that's how your mind works. We think in pictures, even though many of us, we say, well, I don't dream. Yeah, we all dream. Many of us just don't recall our dreams. Me, a few seconds after I wake up, if I don't do something to recall the dream at that moment, literally within probably 20 seconds or so, I've forgotten what the dream was about. Now, flashes of it may come back to me throughout the day, but the dream that I dreamt, just before waking up, I've almost forgot. If I don't purposefully take time to jot something down, to memorize it, to record it, whatever. So we're all dreaming. What I'm saying, get into a state akin to sleep, a relaxed state, when we're about ready to get into the state where we're going to manifest our desire. And listen, you can do this for seconds throughout the day. This is not something that you have to do simply before going to bed. You can get a picture in mind. You're in a relaxed state, you're chilling or whatever, and all of a sudden you kind of get this image of you taking this trip. And all of a sudden you're going to be going through the emotions that I'm going to be talking, in the states and so forth that I'm going to be talking about in a few moments. So first thing, I'm going to be using a SAVE acronym. So it's basically SAVES, and we're going to be using all those letters. So I'm going to try to cover all of them before getting off this call, this discussion, to help you remember. So first thing, get into a state akin to sleep. You're going to get into a relaxed state. So S is get into a state akin to sleep. You're in a relaxed state. Your body, your mind, everything's relaxed. It says enter into the closet, and shut the world out. So you're closing your mind on the world without, and you're in a place where you can focus, you can meditate. This is a place that that's comfortable for you. You get in, make sure that you have comfortable clothes on, that you're in a place where you can relax. Okay, so next thing we're going to talk about is, in the SAVE acronym, we're going to talk about affirms. And affirms is probably we're going to spend most of the time because I want to make sure that I cover everything concerning affirms. But what you affirming is what it, now understand this, people think that affirmations are only positive. Many times this is that we think anywhere from 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day. And often many of those thoughts are repeated thoughts that we've thought previously and the day before and so forth. A lot of what we're affirming is negative stuff that we don't want to show up. It says that we ask, but we ask amiss. We ask for what it is that we don't want. So we start praying to whatever we call God. And we start praying and we say, God, take this away from me. A complaint or a prayer for what you don't want is a prayer for more of that. Master teacher says, thank you, Father. I know that you always hear me, but I'm not praying for myself alone. I'm praying for those who are listening. Thank you, Father. I want you to understand, it says in all things, give thanks. Not for all things, but in all, as you're going through, find a way to practice gratitude. Why? You're practicing gratitude because you want to bring about more of the thing that you're giving thanks for into your life. It says that we're praying ceaselessly. So, and Master Teacher said that we would give an account for even every idle word. And so, if this is the case, if, like I said, you're praying with feelings about something that you don't want, that's actually a prayer for more of that. You start praying for what it is that you want. So we talk about affirmations. First and foremost, affirm, A stands for affirm your desire clearly. What is it that you want? F, do it in first person. Me, myself, and I, but normally we do I. So, and what's the relevance of I? When you pray in I, there was a story in the Old Testament, and it simply said this, that the man Moses saw this bush that was burning, and he was introduced to God. And he says, well, who shall I say sent me? Speaking of Pharaoh, because he wanted to go deliver the people of Israel from the Egyptians. Let me say this as I'm moving forward and this train of thoughts come to me. The thing that you see that needs resolution, that needs to be changed, because you're the one that sees it, often the divine in you will say, you go and you do it. We want somebody else to do it, but we see the need. And the funny thing is, when we answer the need, all of a sudden we receive the blessings and also the tools to fulfill that need. But anyway, so Moses is in front of the burning bush. We're on the portion of affirm first person using I am. So he says, who shall I say sent me? He says, say that I am that I am. Now, why is this relevant to you? Anytime you use the word I am, you're linking the divine in you. You're a spiritual being having a human experience. You're linking the divine in you to whatever that situation is. I'm not smart. So now you've linked the divine in you to stupidity. I'm not healthy. So now you've linked the divine to you or in you to being unhealthy. And understand this, the divine in you says this, be it done unto you according to as you believe or your faith. It can't do otherwise. God's giving us, whatever you call God, energy source, life force, has given us dominion. We use the dominion of our mouth, of our belief, what it is that we're saying, what it is that we're thinking, what it is that we're feeling. We want God to do for us what we must do for ourselves. God is in us, as us, carrying out the work. He says, if I didn't do it, he, she, it, if I didn't do it, it wasn't done. How is he doing it? He's doing it through you. He's doing it through me. Somebody said on my YouTube channel, he says, the reason why, we experience what we experience because we're all connected. This person's absolutely correct. We're all connected. In the beginning, the divine intelligence says, let us create man, woman in our image, in our likeness. This us in the beginning is called Elohim. This is the one God made up of many, that many being you, me, and everybody else. So this is why it says that, I'll quickly go through this because I've covered it before, but for those who may have not heard, this is like when the divine intelligence says, if you don't forgive, then you won't be forgiven. God does not have a tally sheet jotting down every time that you fail to forgive somebody. The God that's not forgiving is the divine within you. So when you're transmitting unforgiveness, unforgiveness comes back to you. Whatever you sow, that shall you reap. You got to know I'm not making this stuff up. I'm telling you how mind works, how spirit works, how you work. So when we're talking about affirm, my phone said you're talking too much and it timed out on me. Okay, so you affirm in first person, I am. Again, I needed to make that clear. The reason why I brought the story of Moses up. Whatever you link to I am, you're impregnating the divine in you to bring about I am what? That, whatsoever. I am. So whatever that is that you're saying I am, that's what's going to manifest, materialize, show up in your world. I am that I am. Okay, so I just want you to be clear. Whatever you're saying about I am, you're merging, impregnating the divine spirit within you with that situation, and that's going to be the outpitching or the outcome. Or I like to say this. Every man, woman is Mary awaiting Christ to conceive. Subconscious, conscious mind. Whatever you're holding in imagination, the Christ, the child, is the manifestation, the materialization. That's your child. So whatever you're giving your attention to, and it can't be otherwise. As you sow, so shall you reap. This is a law. It can't be broken. Now, let me say this about sowing and reaping. Whatever you're sowing, it's going to return to you multiplied. So if you're transmitting, let's say love, we'll start with something positive this time. Hope, encouragement, then that's what comes back to you multiplied. But if you're doing something, let's say, negativity, hate, and I say hate, I'm talking about like haters, criticism and stuff like that, then that's what's going to return to you multiplied. Whatever you're transmitting, and this is why I tell haters not to hate, but haters are going to hate. That's why they call them haters. Whatever, let me say this real quick about that. When I see somebody, no matter who they are, I see, an actor, actress, white, black, green, purple, Asian, doesn't matter. And I see them and I hadn't seen them for years. I'm like, man, I'm excited. They're working again. When I see somebody doing well, I want to celebrate. Somebody says, oh, I just made $10 million on TikTok. I'm celebrating them. The reason why I celebrate them is because now I open up the door for me to receive, something similar. But when I say, wealthy people are stingy, mean, suck, whatever I say, what I'm telling myself is I don't want wealth because I believe this about wealthy people. Many of you are putting off the thing that you desire because you're praying, let me be clear, what it is that you don't want. And you're thinking, well, I'm just saying how it is. Okay, you keep on saying how it is. I put out this post on Jeff Bezos. And he was just saying, the dynamics of business. And he says, most people believe that they're less capable than they really are, and that the things that they think is going to take more time takes less time, blah, blah. He just went through a spiel of some stuff. But I thought it was pretty profound, so I posted it. And a guy gets on my YouTube channel. He's like, that's just not how it works. I said, well, in Jeff Bezos' case, it does work like that, and he's got the results. And I said, whatever you believe, you're getting the results of your belief. Creators, it can't be otherwise. So if you have a negative disposition, the only thing that you're going to see, your radar is going to be up to see negative situations. You're going to be seeking them out. You're going to be like this heat-seeking missile. So only thing I'm trying to encourage you to do is be mindful of your attitudes, your thoughts, your dispositions, your words, and so forth. And even if you're one of those people that hate, stop. Because you're blocking your own blessing. Stop hating. Start congratulating. Okay, so first person. Anything you're saying in first person, you're impregnating the divine within you. Okay, second thing. In affirm. So I did first person. That was the first. The second F is you affirm with feelings. Whatever it is that you're affirming, incorporate. And again, what I'm not telling you to do is not to be you. You know how feelings feel to you. So if you're one of these low-key persons, say, oh man, I'm really feeling this. If that's your person, then you do it, and you don't try to be, all right, I'm Tony Robbins and I'm going to make this. Don't be that person if that's not you. Do it in your own voice. Do it in your own spirit. So whatever that feels like when you receive $1 million, for example, you see yourself affirming this $1 million and how you feel about $1 million. Be yourself is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so do it with feelings. Also, now we go to I. Imagine it as already done. Now, this is important. There's an ancient text that says this. Whatsoever things. Now, what would I just, I said whatsoever. What does whatsoever? Whatsoever means whatever. This means anything. This means what you need, what you desire. You may not even need it. You may just want to have it. It says whatsoever. There's no criteria on whatsoever. People come and say, well, you know, God don't give us, you know, what we want. He gives us what we need. Nonsense. Scripture says whatsoever things you desire when you pray. Here's the caveat. Believe that you already have those things. And you shall have them. Whatsoever. I am that. What's that? Whatever that is that you're being at the moment, I am. Whatsoever. So my point to you, you can ask for anything. Now, hopefully you're asking, and the truth of the matter is you are asking for anything. We're just doing it haphazardly. When you're thinking positive or negative, or if you don't even care about something, you're actually either attracting or repelling that thing to you, whatever it is. It says, to him who has, I touched on this for anybody that may have been here yesterday, to him who has, more shall be given. So when you're holding the vibration, and understand, you're not trying to force something, it's you thinking favorably about, you're imagining, you're reminiscing, you're smiling inside and saying, man, I can't wait. When I attracted one of my ideal cars, I was driving in an older model car that was once my ideal car. So you just keep, from glory to glory, you just keep on, you know, manifesting. You never stop until you stop. You know what I mean? So, so when I was driving, I was envisioning the car that I wanted. So I'm driving my old car. In my mind's eye, I was driving in the new car. I wasn't driving in the old car. And so I knew that everybody around me saw me in the old car. But in my mind's eye, before that new car materialized, I was driving in that new car. You do this with your health. You do this with your relationships. You do this, period. And you're doing this anyway. Now, if you're one of those people that talk about, oh, you know, my health and this and that, then that's the prayer. Whatever your mind, the subconscious mind cannot distinguish between what's fact and what's fiction, or what's actually happening, or what's being imagined. And scientists have put, you know, devices on people, and they've tested them first and foremost while they were actually in an experience, you know, having some certain type of experience. Then they also did it while they were in a relaxed dream state, as it were, and they were getting the exact same results. They've done tests where they would have somebody, the basketball tests, where they would have one person, well, 3 groups. One, nothing changed. The other 2, one was imagining shooting a basketball. The other one was actually shooting the basketball. And the other ones didn't practice at all. The 2 that were actually doing the ones that, of course, that wasn't doing any practice, they sucked. But, but the 2 that were, the ones that were imagining and the ones that were actually doing the practice, their numbers were so close you couldn't tell who was actually doing the actual practice basketball and who was actually doing the physical basketball. What I'm saying to you is that the story that you keep telling yourself is the story that you're going to keep living out. There was a movie done years ago called Groundhog Day. Many of us literally are living in a proverbial Groundhog Day. We're living day in, day out, living the exact same story. Same type of relationships, same type of health story, same type of money stories. If you want to get off of that Ferris wheel, start imagining something different. This is not religion. This is how your mind works. Government has proven this. Theology has proven this. Science has proven this. This is just not Coach DiCarlo making stuff off the top of his head. This stuff is proven by actual evidence. You could go online and research this stuff and you would find that what I'm telling you is true. Okay, so the thing is, so we talked about affirming with feelings. imagine it's already done. Don't make long, drawn-out affirmations. I'm going to go back with Emil Quay. Every day and every way I'm getting better and better. He would have his clients saying that repeatedly over and over in a relaxed state, and they would say it, they would do it a number of times through the day until that actually became the way that they felt. It started to become, because like I said, even when you're affirming something early on and you don't even believe it, it doesn't matter. You keep affirming it. What you're doing is getting that message down to your subconscious. You keep seeing it, visualizing, and affirming it. And I'll talk about some other things that we're going to be doing. But the more you do that, the more you're solidifying it at a cellular level. So you're not just practicing these vain things. It's not vain repetition. You're doing it purposefully. You're doing it with feelings. You're doing it, seeing it. You're doing this anyway. Like I said, you're thinking anywhere from 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day. Most of them are repeated and most of them are negative. If that's been your pattern, we're saying simply, and again, forget about me for a second. Test it for yourself. This is not about me. This is about you. Test these things and see if they are true. See if I will not open up the floodgates of heaven and pour you out such a blessing. The blessings here in the mindset. Okay, so test these things for yourself and see if they don't go on because I say it. Don't listen to all these gurus and so forth out there. Don't listen to it because they're saying it. Do it because you've tried it and you've proven it so. Now, if you test and you say, well, no, coach was full of a bunch of whatever, then fine. But don't not test it and see if these things are true for you. You're doing it anyway. I'm just saying, be more directive. He, she that orders their own inner conversation shall be shown salvation. Salvation is not religion. Now, I know, but let me explain. There was a gentleman by the name of drjosephmurphy, and he would speak to my mentor. And he says, listen, if at the moment, and let me say this about salvation is deliverance from to where you want to be. So if you had to get to the other side of town, then salvation would be you calling an Uber, you taking that Uber and getting on the other side of town. Now you've been delivered. So delivered from to. Okay, so Joseph Murphy would say to my mentor, he says, listen, if you were hungry and you wanted a hamburger, then that hamburger would be your salvation. So now let me go back to the script. He, she that orders his, her conversations aright. We call this right thinking. Right thinking, let me say what you may hear. You may hear righteous thinking. Again, this is not some, where I'm turning my head to the side and I'm spiritual. Righteous thinking means right thinking. And let me clarify right thinking for you. Right thinking is thinking in accordance to what you want to be, do, or have. Now, if you're thinking contrary to what it is that you want to be, do, or have, and you're surrounding yourself with people that are not taking you to what you want to be, do, or have, you're off track. You're thinking in error. But when you're thinking, say, okay, I want to make $1 million, then you can't keep dealing with broke folks. You understand what I'm saying? What I'm saying to you, right thinking is in thinking in accordance to what it is that you want to materialize in your life. If you're not thinking in accordance to what you want to materialize in your life, you're off track. We call that sin. We call that missing the mark. It simply means that you're off target. It doesn't mean this, oh, you're in sin. We're all missing the mark. So we're all in sin. Sin was an old archery term. Simply meant that you were off target. You were off the bullseye. Now, evil meant you missed the target altogether. So when they would shoot the archery down, the arrow down the way, and they just missed it, they say evil, or they would say sin. That just meant that they were off bullseye. He, she that orders his, her conversation aright, right thinking, shall be delivered according to their own inner conversation. That's simply what that means. Okay, so remain brief. Must be specific. What is it that you want? Often I ask people, well, I'm not happy because I don't have what I want. I'm like, well, what do you want? Well, I don't know, but I'm not. So if you don't know what you want, how do you know that you don't already have it?